Cell is by far the worst movie I've ever seen. This movie is terrible. It's worse than terrible. They took a great story and took all the nuance and complexity of the story and made it a movie that was nothing more than a way of saying, yeah, we made a movie of a Stephen King novel. It starts with John Cusack at Logan Airport talking to his wife and son, and then out of nowhere the outbreak occurs. I get it, you want the audience to be confused as hell, but here's a tip. If you're going to have the audience get confused and terrified by something happening, then maybe at some point in the movie you should explain what happened. Yep, throughout the entire movie, all we get is speculation on why the, outbreak occurred. The book had the decency to explain what was going on later on in the story. It kept you in suspense, but at least it eventually told you why things were happening. The movie? No. It just decides that you don't need to know. After a scene full of special effects that put the emphasis on special, seriously, I've seen kids playing with toy planes that make crashes look more realistic than this. After that, John Cusack meets up with Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson in this movie is exactly the same as he is in every other goddamn movie. I swear, he signed on under the agreement that he can roll onto set whenever he feels like it and spout off lines in front of a camera. The post-apocalypse works because he doesn't even have to shave. They escape into the post-chaos Boston that honestly looks just like modern-day Dorchester and go to Cusack's apartment where they meet up with Alice. Alice is the only character I actually got and retained their name because she was her own character. John Cusack was playing John Cusack just like he does in every other movie, same as Sam Jackson. And after a quick costume change, they're off on their next adventure. They decide amongst themselves, without informing the audience, that they're going to head north. They come across a house with one of those "this house has the right to bear arms" signs and a minivan covered in NRA stickers. Here's something weird. I live in Massachusetts, and it's odd to see a license plate from Massachusetts in a movie because something just isn't right. The font is wrong, the spacing is wrong. I don't understand why they messed it up, but it just goes along with the rest of this movie. A whole series of, fuck it, we'll just keep going. Alice pulls out this monster gun that is literally never seen again. Ever. Jesus Christ, this thing is huge. It's a 50 caliber if it's a 9mm. It's ridiculous. It will kill anything and everything. But do they take it? No. But they sure are lucky that they found this house because they get all the guns they use for the rest of the movie. And they keep running into these phoners who are wonderful targets. They seriously never miss a shot unless the story demands it. Now they get to a school where they're met by Stacy Keach. Again, it doesn't matter what his character's name is because it's Stacy Keach playing Stacy Keach, the same Stacy Keach that he plays in every movie since American History X. Stacy Keach shows them a field full of phoners just laying there doing what the kid that's with him calls a system update, and they chose the absolute worst music to put behind this entire scene. They used that fucking troll song. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh.
The music comes from their mouths too. It's not hardly a whisper, but you can hear it.
How can anyone in this day and age of the internet pay attention to exposition with that in the background? I couldn't hear them talking at all. All I can picture is this video. Now they go inside and discuss their options. The sound of the scene is terrible.
William Gibson,
Neil Stevenson, you like him?
They want to make it sound like they're in an echoey room, but you have to understand that the audience isn't also in this echoey room. We're trying to hear what they have to say, not what would happen if a microphone is sitting in the middle of the room. Now they decide, and rather quickly, to light up the field of phoners. John Cusack and Sam Jackson get in a truck and start spewing gas all over them. You know, for how quick it got dark earlier, it sure is staying dark for a really long time so they can do this shit. They even throw in a momentary, oh no, will they make it moment when the truck gets stuck. But the situation immediately solves itself less than 20 seconds later.
This before, right? Just put it in low again. Yeah, we were just putting it out on somebody's head or something.
They torch the field in what is, again, a wonderful display of special effects. But oh noes, someone didn't notice the gas leaking from the truck, and ba-boom! Away with the gas truck and away with Stacy Keach. Bye-bye, hair lip. Now Sam Jackson, John Cusack, and Alice have to care for this kid. And away they go on their next adventure at the drive-in. At the drive-in, they all go to sleep and have bad dreams. It's revealed that they all had similar bad dreams, all starring a guy in a red hoodie, who again is only marginally explained as someone from a comic book that John Cusack's writing, which we're just finding out about now. The book explains it, but we're not reading the book, we're watching the movie. When they go to leave the drive-in, they open the door and find a pile of burning, smoldered cell phones. In the book, it's explained that it's a message from the phoners that they're being watched and burning up the group was big no-no. But the movie? They look at it and walk away. Yep, they don't address it here or at any other point in the movie. Next, they visit a hotel with 3 characters who aren't going to see the next location change. One is a drunk woman with no name, one is a guy with a voice box with no name, and one is a guy with an English accent, but he only says one line, so it's hard to kind of remember that fact. They all drink and talk about nothing. Really, it seems like they wanted this scene to mean something, but for the life of me, I couldn't tell you what it was actually about. I couldn't tell you what they actually discussed. It's like the writers even knew that no one was going to be giving their full attention to the movie, so neither did they. The drunk lady wakes up hearing something and goes and checks it out. She goes to the door and becomes infected by the whatever and opens up the door and lets the phoners in. Battle ensues, and shock, the 3 people we met in the hotel are now dead, and so isn't Alice. Well, not before she's seen hanging on to dear life and talking, but you can't fucking hear her. She's just mouthing something and then dies. Like, what the fuck? Am I supposed to just sort out that she said something meaningful? Because she didn't, I'm sure of it. She could have been dying and said something like, I like Starbursts because they're chewy and juicy. Herk blarg. But you wouldn't know. And off they go on their next adventure. They now bump into Danielle and Rich. Or maybe Denise. I don't know, because again, they're not fleshed out enough for me to care that they're in this movie at all. Denise has a brother who got turned into a phoner that they're using as a warning device. He starts broadcasting John Cusack's son's voice, and Sam Jackson just shoots him. Rather than try to sort out what's happening or why it's happening, just boom, gone, done. They hop into the ice cream truck that Dolores and Eldritch were driving and go off on their next adventure. In literally the next scene, Cumberbridge stops the truck and just walks off into the woods, and John Cusack follows him for some reason. Mysteriously, Richard has a thing around his neck. He gives John Cusack a phone and says to call the number on the piece of paper when it's time. No other instructions, and then he just blows his ass up. Yep, the character that's been around for not 5 minutes commits suicide and the audience is supposed to care? And on to the next adventure. They get to John Cusack's wife's house, and he finds that his son has left him a note saying that he's gone up to this town in Maine where it's believed that there's no phone service. Sweet D had mentioned that it does have service and that it's a trap, but John Cusack has to find his son. Cusack goes up to the attic for some fucking reason, and there's his wife, who's now a phoner. She attacks him, and the mysterious Sam Jackson appears to save the day. Next, they're outside, and it's the parting of the ways. Sam Jackson decides he's going to listen to Dana and go up to Canada for some reason, and John Cusack is going to try and find his son. They also discover during this scene that the ice cream truck has only the worst flavor of ice cream imaginable, C4, and that the truck is a mobile bomb. Thankfully, I can put pieces together myself and sort out that the phone is the detonation device. John Cusack makes it to Maine. Take a shot if you're playing the Stephen King drinking game. He discovers about 2,000 phoners lumbering around a phone tower. He gingerly drives his truck through them and gets about halfway to the tower. He sees the guy in the red hoodie from the dreams. He puts the truck into gear and drives into him. Again, emphasis on the special in these effects. He gets out to see the guy in the red hoodie, and after red hoodie guy starts screeching like a modem, he blasts him in the chest half a dozen times with a shotgun. No idea why he doesn't go for a headshot, but that's just me. He hears his son and goes into the swirling crowd of phoners, only to be pushed back to the same side that he was already on. His son appears from nowhere, and oh no, he's a phoner now too. John Cusack holds him close and dials the phone. A huge explosion envelops the area, and we see John Cusack and his son walking along a railroad track, seemingly heading off to heaven. Okay, nice ending. Nope, fooled you. He's a phoner now. The truck never exploded, and he's just lumbering along with the rest of them. The end. Seriously, that's how it ends. No answers as to why anything happened, no happy ending, nothing that your normal horror movie would give you. There are characters we're supposed to care about that die after a scene and a half. Characters that die and we don't even know their names. Plot devices that can be seen from 3 scenes away. Cinematography is awful, the sound design is even worse. The fact that the screenplay was written by Stephen King himself makes it just terrible. King has an awful track record when it comes to movies he has a hand in. The Shining made-for-TV adaptation comes to mind. It technically does tell the story from the book, but in no way goes on to tell the tale of the book. Literally, the only redeeming factor of this movie is that we get to hear Sam Jackson quote scripture. Avoid this film. It's not even so bad it's good. It's just bad. This isn't The Room. This isn't Sharknado. It's 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's Transformers Dark of the Moon. This movie shouldn't have been made. Or if it had, it should have been made by at least 2 people who gave a shit.